Good evening. I'm Remy.
I'm David.
I'm Ozzy.
I'm Joshua.
And we will be discussing The Maze Runner.
So, I'll start. Why do you guys think Wicked had to do this to that certain group of people? Why couldn't it have been any other people?
I don't really know. I've figured because it was a new generation, and so they had to study like pretty much like the younger generation that was born after the flare, which is like the main disease.
But can I add on to that is that they put those in the reason to, because in the end of the book and movie, it shows that some kids had immunity to the flare, so they took a group of random kids and studied their brain as they went through difficult challenges and stuff to see how they either adapt or get the immunity or just not.
I agree. It was just, they wanted to control people.
Yeah, but I think they could have, came up with better ways and a better name, too. Wicked?
Yeah.
But
it's wolf
sounds really
corrupt.
Well, yeah, but, sketchy. But, I think they could have come up with a better test. A better test for,
because many kids
testing.
died.
Yeah, they were dying.
But people were dying anyway from the flare all the time.
Yes,
every
because
day.
the sunburns.
Yeah.
And the black stuff inside your brain.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they intentionally meant to have no survivors because they wanted to study those who wouldn't survive and those who would survive, so they could compare what was happening.
Yeah. Also had a question I know the dying. This is kind of on this, but why the grievers? Why couldn't they have come up with a more humane way?
I think because they were living in a more inhumane world with everyone just killing each other from the flare, that they decided, well, if this is what we need, this is what we need.
And how their brain would react to having to overcome these hard challenges, such as the grievers.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
I was thinking that too, but it was more kind of it carried on with their society and instead of just killing them in a humane way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But when they opened up the maze and they let the grievers in, I feel like if they were really trying to test them, why would they just kill them?
Well, not all of them died.
Well, yeah, but why would they attempt?
The strong survived. It's just weed them out.
I'm pretty sure the Maze Runner, the maze was basically one huge big test, but there were multiple smaller tests in that. And ever since Thomas came into the story, he was the star of the story, but ever since he came into the story, things started happening. But I think they had a bunch of smaller tests to see what was happening because Thomas was a main scientist.
But if you remember, at the end of the movie, the girl, the head person who created Wicked. She was at a board meeting and she said, "I didn't expect there to be this many survivors." So obviously they wanted to make it really challenging to where there was only a few left, so that they could get a better understanding of how the brain works and how you can find a cure.
I was also thinking, but why do you think? Do you kind of want to? I'm kind of relating this to movies like The Hunger Games. How it seemed to get crazy when Thomas came in. Before that, it seemed to just be that was life of the maze. But when Thomas came in, it seemed like it got a lot more hectic, and they opened up the thing. Do you think Thomas was kind of almost like Katniss in The Hunger Games, was kind of a rebel to the normal way, and that's why they decided?
I think more he was just really efficient instead of actively trying to go against the system. He was just really good at his job.
And I also think that since he was a part of Wicked, he was the one who helped create it, that because the point was to see, because they were living happily, no one really died. You just go into the maze, you come back, stuff like that. So,
yeah. But, so, we can all agree that Thomas changed a lot throughout the book, right?
Yes.
Do you think it was more for the better or for the worse?
I think it was for the better, because in the beginning, he was very curious, and he wanted to know what was going on and how to fix and change it.
Yeah. And throughout the book, that kind of shifted into courage and stuff like that. So he kept, he started to lead, and he kind of basically threw out a bunch of the rules that Albie, created. But he just had enough courage to get them, and he's the main reason that they all made it through.
Yeah, but like I feel like in the beginning it wasn't. It's almost like the discussion we're having in social studies about how was Columbus beneficial or harmful to, or
Yeah.
how was it
Discovery of
beneficial
America.
or harmful? But like I feel like in the beginning it was kind of harmful because it caused a lot of conflict and conflicting feelings and emotions between a lot of the people in the maze. But like you said, in the end, it kind of came out. He was courageous and yeah.
And if you remember when Mino and Albie were in the maze and Albie was hurt and the walls were getting smaller and smaller, Thomas was the one to step forward and help them. That shows a lot of bravery, courage, and leadership right there, which I think most kids in the maze didn't expect because they only lived by the status quo.
Yeah.
So, what do you think some of like his true emotions were at the beginning of the book?
He was just like really confused and didn't know like what was going on, and he seemed to be. Sorry. He seemed to be more wanting change at the beginning, or not wanting change and just like trying to get by at the beginning and then towards the end.
I thought he was like way more scared.
Yeah.
And like, well, I mean, you know how Albie said, if you aren't
Scared, you're not human.
Yeah, if you aren't scared, you aren't human. But like, he stayed that way throughout the book, and he was still like curious and stuff. And like we already said, that kind of shifted in the courage.
I feel like I know he kind of didn't show it, but when he came into the maze, I feel like yes, he was confused and scared, but I feel like he was also very mad once he figured out that he had been shoved into this maze.
Oh,
I feel like if you think about it, like it didn't directly say so, but like if you think about it, if you got thrown into a maze,
You would be pretty mad.
you'd be
Yeah, I would be pretty mad.
Especially if you have built the maze.
I feel like he. It's just me, but I feel like he reacted differently than other people would. Like
Yeah,
he
because
started to run as, and maybe some kids didn't. They just said, "All right, I'm here now." And
Yeah.
then
I
had
agree.
try to survive.
yeah,
and-
he was.
I have a question. Why do you think they sent up Teresa, the first girl? Why do you think her and then no more after that?
Because you can talk.
Because like it was yet another test, but like they were trying to push them to get out. Like they didn't want them to stay there forever because that's basically what they were doing for the past 3 years with Albie and them. That they made up rules to like help them survive and stuff.
Do you think that they sent her up to help get the answers that they were looking for? Because during the 3 years, if they didn't get what they wanted and it was too easy, do you think they tried to make it harder?
Well, I think they used the human nature. Like they sent up a girl because like I feel like they felt more like they could talk to her. Like instead of like male dominance establishing, they could show their weaknesses.
But they also didn't like her that
Well,
much.
yeah, but
Also,
like
she acted very different from the rest of the
yeah,
people.
but I still feel like it was a decoy. Then like rather than having them all kind of, even though they were working together, they were all trying to like establish dominance. It's just male nature. I think that was, like you said, a tool, and she did act different.
Also, they maybe if like they were probably pinning, like they were probably trying to make Thomas like the target because first like all the like a bunch of grievers and then he got stuck in the maze and then like the first girl and the last person there shows up and there's no food or anything and 3 days later it's not a month. So I think they were just trying to pin a dot on Thomas.
So why do you think Thomas went from curious to courageous? Why do you think he, after he found the answers he was looking for, why don't you think he just backed off? Why do you think he had to step forward and change?
I think it's because no one else was. And, like, you know, if no one else was, and, like, it's because everyone else, he wasn't there for so long, so, like, he wasn't so, like,
Used to.
he was a little bit more rebellious because he wasn't, like, he didn't realize how serious these rules are and how, like, how serious everyone else was about it, so he just realized he had to step up.
I agree.
I think it was almost because of his urge to like fix it. He realized how tough and like how much of a struggle it was in the maze to really, survive due to
Yeah.
all of the harsh challenges they're faced. And he's like, I think he thought that they're not going to survive much longer if they keep up that way.
Yeah. Also, there was like no more food basically, and he knew that like the stuff that we take for granted, like food, I guess, but they had to grow it and they had to get out and stuff. But he just.
I thought like he was always courageous to begin with, and he just used that into getting answers, like his like strive for adventure into just getting answers. And then once that was all accomplished, we moved on to another thing.
If you guys remember, Mino showed Thomas his secret hiding place in the woods where he had the maze all mapped out to himself. Only him and Albie knew. Why don't you think that he told that to the other people so that it would lift up their spirits?
It would actually pretty much tear down their spirits because they realized they would have no hope.
But if they knew how the maze worked and stuff like that, maybe more people would want to be runners so that they could.
I kind of see where both of you are coming from, and Remy, you need to speak after this, but I see how, like, you kind of said it would kind of down their spirits, you said it would kind of up their spirits. I'm kind of thinking it would both down and up their spirits. It would up their spirits because they know, there's a map, we can do this, and then it would down their spirits because they're like, one, why did he not tell them in the first place? And if he did tell them in the first place, then like I feel like greed would take over, and somebody would be greedy and take the map with them so they could guide themselves or attempt to guide themselves.
I thought he didn't tell them for fear that like people would want to just run into the maze without like any experience doing it, and then would get killed.
All right, I think we got our 10 minutes down.
All right.
All right.
Successful discussion.